Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel, and we are continuing our read through of Brandon Sanderson's The Way of Kings. We're up to chapter 27 entitled Chasm Duty, and this is a special chapter. I'm trusting that you've read this chapter if you're watching this video. This is a chapter when Bridge 4 begins to come together. Kaladin has been working on this for weeks and weeks, trying to get these men to live for something more than just the next bridge run. And he's tried to lead by example. He's tried to build relationships, and it seems like only Rock and Teft have bought in. Well, the chapter opens with Kaladin going into the apothecary, and he is going to try to sell some of the knobweed sap that they have been collecting. And the apothecary shop owner tells him, well, this is too watered down. That's not how it works. You can't collect essentially wild knobweed and have it work as a balming ointment. Kaladin's discernment sort of clicks in, because this is the same man that had told him that you only get one drop from the entire reed of the plant, and they'd been getting several drops from each, so he already doesn't believe him, and he actually calls him on it. He says, you just want the money and a monopoly on all this knobweed sap. He said, how about I go to some of these bright lords and let them know where I found this, how easy it was to find it, and that you have been cheating them out of it this entire time. And the apothecary shop owner folds. He says, don't do that. You'd be a fool to do that. And so they come to an agreement. He says, here's what's going to happen. I am going to provide you the knobweed sap. You're going to pay me for it and for my labor. And then you can mark it up just like you've been doing and sell it to the Bright Lords. It's going to cost you more because you're paying me. But if we get found out, or if there's more of a discussion about it, you can blame me. You can throw me under the bus. And so they come to that agreement. Well, more than just that, they begin to move forward together. He's talking to Syl. She's pleased at what's going on. When he comes into contact with Gaz, Gaz lets him know, because of the stunt they pulled on a recent bridge run, bringing back injured, wounded bridgemen, they were going down into the chasm duty. Now, what is chasm duty? These chasms are all through the shattered plains, and in these battles between the Parshendi and the Alethi soldiers, they tried to push one another towards the edge of these chasms, and often soldiers careen down into the chasm, sometimes 50, 60, 70, 100 feet down. They fall to their deaths. So they'll send bridgemen down to collect weapons and armor and any other valuables like jewelry or even spheres. And so they have a requirement that they have to bring back a certain weight or certain amount. It's not incredibly a lot because they don't want to discourage them. It's actually just to keep the bridgemen busy. So Bridge 4 gets sent down. They're not pleased, but they all go down into the chasms, and they're walking through. They have bags. They're tossing it into their sacks. When Kaladin begins talking, he begins talking to Rock and Teft, and they begin to add a few others. One's name is Dunny, and I think Teft asks him, like, that's a weird name. Where'd you get that? He tells him about his name. Rock shares his. Horn Eater Peaks, an area of Roshar. He shares his name and shares that the name, though it's this very, very long name, it actually is a poem. And most of their names and even phrases are in the form of poems. And so he said, actually, when Horn Eaters get into arguments, we go to a bar, we drink, and if you're able to drink and sing a song longer, each drink you sing, you win. And he said normally what it happens is is the horn eaters get so drunk that they forget what they were mad about in the first place. So they're laughing. They're actually picking up some more people when they come across really a large amount of Alethi soldiers' bodies. And they begin collecting everything that they're doing when Kaladin notices a spear in the mud, which they call crem, on the ground, who goes and picks it up. And it's the first time for a long time that he has held a spear. And sort of all these memories, muscle memory as well as his mental memories, begin to flood back from his past. He thinks of his family. He thinks of being a soldier in Amaran's army. He thinks of the training that he's had with the spear, with other weapons. When some of the men in Bridgeford begin to jeer him, they begin to insult him. Men like Moash and Sigzil, and among others, who were saying that man's never held a spear. It's his fault we're down here. He sent us to carry rocks just to show us that he could shove us around. Never held a spear in his life. And Kaladin begins to perform some practice moves. It's called a kata. And he's swinging the spear in sort of different ways. It's a way that they would teach him how to use it. Well, it's a beautiful kata. And the men are mesmerized. He's spinning the spear on his neck, on his arms. He's twisting, he's pointing, he's recoiling and jumping and lunging. And the men are speechless. And after he finishes his kata, Rock and Teft come up to him and they go, Kaladin, that was incredible. Kaladin kind of gets embarrassed. He just sort of lost it. And they all start to rush back, right? All right, it's time to go. They found what they needed. They get out of the chasm. And Kaladin feels the pressure. Before they leave the chasm, Rock put his hand on his shoulder and said, you know what? You are doing a good thing. Soon, you will win over these men. And Kaladin says, you know, that's not going to matter, though, if we go all and die in a bridge run. We need to make this happen now. I need them to buy into what I'm trying to do now. And so he says, very well. When we get out, you and me, Rock, we are going to the camp market. And Rock says, okay, what is the reason for this thing? He talks in such a fun way. And Kaladin said, we're going to try out my secret weapon. Rock asks, and what weapon is this? And Kaladin smiles, actually, it's you. So what are they going to do? They go with the money that he's earned now from this knobweed sap. They buy a big cauldron. They buy vegetables. They buy ingredients, seasoning. They are going to make a campfire, which they're allowed to. There's a bunch of extra wood, and anybody's allowed to use the wood. But they're going to make a campfire and a big pot of stew. And when they begin putting it all together, Teft comes up and says, what are you doing, lad? And he says, do you ever know a soldier that'll turn down a good warm bowl of stew in a fire after a long day? He says, yeah, but we're not soldiers. He says, it doesn't matter. So they make the stew. They're sitting around. Dunny and a couple others who were very impressed with Kaladin, especially the ones that have been injured, they kind of limp out to see what's going on. They sit down. Kaladin has bowls for all the men as they're coming to sit down, and he's just hoping against hope that more will come, right? He says, he's thinking to himself, you aren't dead yet. Storms, if you don't come out. And suddenly a man, Scar, who's been critical, comes out of the barrack. Kaladin holds up the bowl for him, and Scar looks at him and laughs. He says, I'd join the Night Watcher herself around a fire if there were stew involved. He takes this bowl, he sits down, starts talking to the other guys. Some start singing, and all of the men come around the fire and begin eating stew. Now, not all are on board yet because they're just not there, but they're taking the stew. And Kaladin knows, you know what? He says they'd eaten his stew. Nobody had turned that down, and now he had done what he felt like he couldn't have done before. He was bringing them together. And he concludes with this sentence: Bridge 4 was his. Now he had to keep them alive long enough for that to mean something. Kaladin is working hard to get these men united and follow him because he wants to save their life. This is such a special chapter. Hope you enjoyed it, and we will continue to see where Bridge 4 goes from here. Thanks so much for watching. If you're interested, you can like and subscribe to the channel and keep the discussion going as we continue to read through Brandon Sanderson's The Way of Kings, Book 1 of the Stormlight Archive. Thank you so much.